Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by. Today I will be talking about free life lessons that I have learned after traveling to over 70 countries and living in 5 different countries on 4 different continents. And these are more personal, more deeper observations that have really stuck with me and that have helped me to learn a lot about myself. First thing I have noticed is that I appreciate my home country, the Czech Republic, way more now than what I used to. And when I was growing up there, I knew that people in other Western countries, like in Scandinavia, have higher standards of living, they can make more money, and I always felt like that life must be so much better somewhere else than in my country. And when I started traveling and exploring more of the world, I saw how people lived in some parts of the world, like in Africa or in Bangladesh, or I saw how people lived in slums in India. And then I just started feeling so silly for ever complaining about my country, because I cannot possibly imagine how life must be difficult for some people in some other parts of the world that are fighting every day just to survive. And I just really started appreciating things I always took for granted, like safety in my country, public transport, free education, free healthcare, even clean tap water, or just like passport that allows me to travel almost anywhere in the world without visas. So I just think that people tend to take things like that for granted, and sometimes they must leave the country to see its value. Lesson number 2 is that there is no perfect country in the world, or I at least haven't found it yet. And every country has its own problems. I think that when you go somewhere for vacation and you just stay somewhere for short periods of time, you don't really get to know and see the country properly. But once you start working there and spend more time there, then you start seeing the things that are not very visible at first. This lesson came to me after I left New Zealand and moved to the United States with my husband, and I started seeing more issues than I didn't have to deal with, like for example in the Czech Republic or in New Zealand where I lived previously. Before, I also lived and worked in the UK and in United Arab Emirates. This lesson really hit me hard because I used to idolize some countries, and I thought that in some certain countries in the world life must be so much easy and nice and you don't have any problems there. I can say that every country has some problems, and it's really up to us to decide what our priorities are, what our needs are, and choose a country with problems we are willing to deal with. So it's up to us to decide if we are willing to deal with crime and politics and climate and housing crisis and high cost of living in some places. New Zealand is kind of good example of country that seems to be like a perfect place at first, and it definitely did for me because I spent there over 4 years. But just like in my third year, when I was trying to get back home and just visit my family for like 5 weeks, I started seeing that the distance from my country can be an issue if I want to go and visit my family frequently. It would take me a really long time to always travel back home. It would be very expensive and I would spend a really long time recovering from the jet lag. So this can be issue for some people, but for some people who don't like to travel that much and they are just looking for the safety and the isolation is something they would like because they are looking for peace and quiet and community, New Zealand can be a perfect place. The other example would be United Arab Emirates, where I lived for 4 years as well. And I never liked the fact that it's just so hot there and humid. And for some other people who like hot climate, it can be a perfect place as well, but it wasn't for me. Lesson number 3 is kind of obvious, but it took me a really long time to realize this and many countries to move to notice that moving to new country will not solve your problems if your problems are internal problems. I wasn't very happy when I was growing up in my country. I was looking for the new country as an escape from my life, and after a while I realized that we cannot really escape our past or our problems completely. I used to believe that my country was the problem and the people were the problem, and if I just go far enough then I would be free. But the fact is that everywhere we go we take ourselves with us. A new country can distract you for a while, like it was always for me when I was really always looking forward to going to the UK during my summer break when I was at the university, and I wasn't very fulfilled during the rest of the year when I was back home in my country. So I was always really looking forward to just going to a new place, living in a new house, having new flatmates, and having new job, just going to explore new places, try new food. But after a while the excitement just wore off. I realized that I actually have again the same anxiety and insecurities and negative thoughts I had before. Those things, they just don't go away. Traveling somewhere and moving somewhere can help you for a while, can distract you from your problems temporarily, but the healing is inside job and it's our responsibility to do. So these were my 3 lessons and I hope that you can resonate with them too. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video.